Hey guys, SteelOvan here. In this video, I want to do a little bit of a ramble on the uh, different levels in this knife hobby, and well, really, sort of uh, our inevitable journey towards maybe burnout or boredom in this hobby. So I'm just drawing off of my experience. Um, your mileage will and may vary. Um, but I've been in this hobby for, I think, around 5 years now. Um, Pretty much started out, was watching YouTube one day, uh, probably for some firearm related stuff. And I came across a Nut and Fancy video that I forget which video it was, probably one of their reviews. But I got hooked, and I started watching more of that content, and then came the spending. I started shopping online at different retailers, going off of reviews that people had made, purchasing knives based on what I had seen online. Shortly after, I joined Blade Forums, spent tons of time on there. So between the two of those, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours spent watching YouTube knife-related content. Then on Blade Forums, interacting on there, buying and selling, looking at pictures, that kind of thing. And then later on, I got a little bit into Instagram. I don't really use it that much anymore, but for a little bit there, I was using it. So that's kind of one aspect of this hobby, is the social media. It's a very large portion of it, I got to admit. Buying the knives is fun. You get the excitement of trying out new, different things. Maybe in lateral or even vertical movement, in like performance, aesthetic, beauty, features, that sort of thing. So really, there's that sort of permeates throughout the whole time you're in this hobby, is the thrill of the chase, what's next. Also, just enjoying things that you have, the knives that you have, and using them. That is a huge part of it that will continue to be doable throughout the entire hobby. And then kind of a side, something that goes along with that is sharpening. There's a whole world and rabbit hole you can get into with sharpening. That is a whole giant aspect in itself. Learning the different equipment, the different techniques, that just opens up a whole nother can of worms in this hobby. And in my opinion, is very, very necessary to learn pretty early on if you want to have any sort of longevity in this hobby. So there's those things. Eventually, you may, add in some modification of things that you already have. So you may feel in between purchasing, or in maybe a period of stagnation, where you are looking for something new. You might resort to, instead of purchasing a whole new blade, you'll modify something existing, or you might do that right out of the factory, and try to make it either more aesthetic, more beautiful, and also more functional, or maybe just more functional, But anyhow, so you can get into modifying your knives, another giant part of this hobby. You can, from there, you can do something that's probably the worst of all of these. You can start making YouTube videos and putting them online. Cringe. But yeah, that's something else that can bring enjoyment. Putting out your own content, to, maybe, be up there with, what other people have put up there. That's something that can bring enjoyment, fun, a whole other set of skills, in both creating the videos, making the videos, editing the videos, that sort of thing. It's just a whole other set of skills and can add some more interest to the hobby. And at the end, I mean, you can go in the route of selling, buying, maybe more as like a dealer, something like that. I have not experienced that. But what I have experienced is the inevitable, well, I've decided I want to try making one of these things. Because at the end of the day, knives in their base form are a very simple tool. I guess I'll pull this one out for now. They're a very simple tool. Really, it's a blade made out of steel and a handle, you know? And sometimes it's just a piece of steel that has been shaped so that it's comfortable in your hand. But there are, don't get me wrong, there are infinite progression that you can do, honing your skills, creating better and better designs, a better product, more functional product, more beautiful project, more difficult techniques. But initially, it is a very simple design, and maybe you want to try your hand at it. So that is another aspect of it, is trying out knife making, and that, you know, opens you up to the whole process of needing different tools to do different processes so that you can get a different result. Working within what tools you have. I was having trouble focusing there. But really just the journey of learning to be a better craftsman. That's something that's a huge aspect that eventually maybe you could get into. Some people are just not cut out for that. Maybe it's just not their thing. They don't like it. It doesn't interest them. But at least for me, that was sort of one of the last nails in the coffin, was trying making some of my own knives. So all these different stages in this knife hobby, these different aspects that you can experience, they don't all have to be experienced right at once. Just like you don't have to go out and buy, I don't know, say, you know, buy 100 of the, you know, top knives out there, and then you have them all, and I guess you use them all, and maybe that's good for you. But I'm of the mindset that it's good to take some time, enjoy where you're at, take some time to smell the roses, as it were, and enjoy the process. I think it's valuable in this hobby. It is also valuable in life, because really there is a finite number of things for you to experience in this hobby. So, and you'll notice that when you first get your, you know, just like drug addiction, you get your first couple of knives. It's super exciting trying out all of these different, maybe different locking mechanisms, different blade steels, different shapes, different manufacturers, different materials. So it's very exciting in the first couple of knives. And then after that, you're chasing a much smaller amount of change, or you're chasing rarity, so something that's very difficult to get. And so in that way, it really, the enjoyment is lessened, maybe not in an exact, you know, ratio, but over time, the enjoyment of getting a new knife wanes a little bit. And maybe for some, you know, some people, you're chasing the dragon a little bit, chasing that first high, that first excitement of the first blade that you got. And for other people, maybe it remains constant. Maybe it's just as exciting every time. For me, I've noticed really the way I did this hobby, I set out with a bit of a mission. I chose to, and still choose to, only buy knives made in the United States, which greatly limits my pool of knives that I am looking to purchase or experience. So for people that are in the Oh, so the ladybug there. For people who are looking to experience like the Chinese market, other countries' markets, Russian knives, there is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands even, of different models that you can experience that I will never have interest in. And it could be the other way too. You may be interested in, one brand of knives. Maybe you're only interested in, just as an example, Chris Reeve knives or Carruthers performance knives or something like that. All other knives you're not interested in. You're just interested in the different knives in that segment of the knife hobby. So it's different for everybody. And really, I guess I didn't play with this one yet. Really, I think the trick is, like, you're going from one stage to the next. Maybe you got into everything at once. You started sharpening about the same time that you started really getting into knives. You started putting Instagram content out about that same time. You started, maybe you started trying to make knives at the same time and modify your knives at the same time. And maybe you try to jump in with both feet, which that's similar to what I did. It took me really up until about 2 years ago, was when I got really seriously into this hobby. That's when I started making my first knives, was 2 years ago. And before that, it was probably only about a year before I really was modifying anything. So I took it pretty slow, but compared to a lot of people, I was very, very fast into this hobby. Really, I don't want to tell people what to do, but if I could do it over again, I might go just a little bit slower into the hobby and enjoy the process more. Because I'm at the point where most of the knives that I have interest in, I've been able to acquire. So most of the knives that I really want, I was able to find through various means. And now I'm left with just a very few knives that I'm really searching for. And even when I say searching, I'm saying, like, if I have found them at a show, maybe I would be interested for the right price. I feel like at this point I've experienced maybe most of what the hobby has to offer. I'm not saying all, because this hobby is, you can go infinitely more in detail in all of the aspects that I've done, especially the knife making. I haven't even scratched the surface of that. But I'm saying from like a collector standpoint, like the knives I'd like to buy. I also, from like a sharpening standpoint, like the KME sharpening system that I have, I feel is pretty much some of the, top of the line when it comes to sharpening systems. Maybe you could argue the Wicked Edge is better or Freehand is better. But I have no need to go further. So you sort of see what I'm saying, where I'm approaching, I sort of approach the point of greatly diminishing returns in the knife hobby. And so now what I'm left with, boo-hoo, I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I get to enjoy all of these awesome knives that I've found and acquired. I get to use them, and I get to continue to make videos about them, hopefully. Oh, the ladybug's back. Be gone. So I'm not really sure if you guys followed this ramble. I'm not really sure what I was trying to get at. But really, I just want to encourage people to enjoy your hobby, enjoy right now where you're at in the knife world. And if you're feeling stagnant, try something new. Maybe try modifying one of your knives. Try doing some form of social media. Try listening to podcasts. There's a lot of awesome knife podcasts out there that I've listened to a pretty good chunk of them, at least the popular ones. So maybe try that out. And if you have the shop and the know-how and really the time, anybody can learn how to make a knife. maybe try making your own knife. That's really, at least for me, one of the most exciting parts of the hobby right now is seeing what I can make with my own hands. So hopefully that was at least entertaining or made some sense to some of you guys. Maybe I'm sure some of you guys have experienced the same kind of thing as I have, where maybe you've seen a large portion of the hobby, and I don't wish that I could do anything over. If I could do anything over again in this hobby, I would do it exactly how I did it. However, I just want to once again say, people out there who are in this hobby, enjoy where you're at. Try to be content, especially in this current market. Everything is very hard to find. They're pretty much everything that's of good quality is very, very difficult to acquire. And so that can be disheartening to some people, especially some new people getting in that want to experience this kind of stuff. So I just want to say, be patient, enjoy this hobby, and try something new. All right, hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.